Okay, so this is going to be my review of The Flash, Episode 8, Flash vs. Arrow. Yes, this is the start of the two-night crossover event between The Flash and Arrow. What do I have to say about this? This was pretty cool, but I feel like at some points the episode was pretty frickin' predictable. I hate to say it, but there were some points where I was like, this is predictable. And how they fixed a certain problem just felt like, okay, really? That's how we're going to do that? Okay. I guess. Alright. Not to say this was a bad episode, I just felt like it felt a little too predictable, and how they kind of fixed things, and they just kind of rushed through the ending, which kind of had me feeling, wow, really? That was what we got here? Really? Okay. So it starts off with Barry looking into this case of, a metahuman who can, generate rage in people and make them go completely insane, and in the midst of it, he runs into Oliver, who Oliver actually helps him, stop a cop from killing Joe after being driven mad by this guy. And in this, that's when, Barry finds out Oliver's in the city, and he goes to visit him. And I love that moment where he runs, and Diggle and Felicity, Dig and Felicity are there, and Diggle's just like, he runs fast, because he didn't know about the superpowers. And I love the line Barry says, like, I gave him a half-hour head start, and I still beat him here. Yeah. And the reason why they're here is because they're looking into a murder perpetrated by a boomerang. Yeah, so the Captain Boomerang two-parter begins. So yeah, they found the compound elements somewhere within the city, and I was like, okay, that's a weird way to trace it, but alright. And Barry's like, hey, we should totally team up, and Oliver's like, no, you need to do your own thing. We need to we need to do ours. I'm not interested in teaming up. Go away. And Barry's kind of sad about that. When he goes back to he goes back with Felicity to Star Labs to kind of investigate this find out elements of this boomerang. They, Dr. Wells and Joe are there to talk to Barry, and they're like, no, we don't trust Oliver. We don't trust the Arrow. Excuse me, they don't know he's Oliver yet. But yeah, they don't trust the Arrow because he's a lot dangerous. His methods are a lot more violent, and also, they finally bring up, oh, he's killed people. He was part of 12 murder cases in the first year he appeared, and Barry's trying to defend him, where they're like, look, that doesn't, okay, yeah, he may have stopped people, but he was pretty much the cause of 2 terrorist attacks in the same city, as well as he's a murderer. And I'm like, finally someone brings that up, because everyone's all like, oh, he does, he's a good guy, he's a champion of the city, and how, everyone's like, oh, killing's wrong, but Oliver did it anyway. Yeah. So I'm glad they brought that up, and Oliver is still kind of against working with them, but Felicity eventually kind of convinces him to work together with them. However, Barry's run off and run into the metahuman who's causing all the rage, and he gets hit with the rage spell. Now, while this is going on, because again, I've talked before about how I do not care about the Eddie and Iris relationship. Whenever that's brought up, I'm like, I want to fast forward through this, but I feel like I'm going to miss something if I do. Well, this time around, Eddie is very, gung-ho about arresting the Flash. He is, he considers the Flash an enemy. He's dangerous. He's way too dangerous. And I'm kind of wondering to myself, when did you suddenly take interest in the Flash? I know your girlfriend's been writing blogs about him. And of course, he gets shot down by the police captain. And Iris is not really, too thrilled with him trying to start up trouble. He's him trying to start up, trouble and all that, and trying to stop the Flash, even though he's doing good and all that. And I'm thinking to myself, a metahuman who can cause rage, and Eddie is trying to get a task force set up to capture and arrest the Flash. To which I said to myself, I know exactly how this episode is going to go now. And that's what kind of hurt it for me. I was like, I know exactly where this is going now. But before we actually let me back up again, because Oliver and Barry have a training session because Oliver brings up a good point. You may have all this power, but you run into danger head on. You run into danger head on. You don't think about it. And I like how he kind of trains him. He kind of gives him the tough loved kind of training. And yeah, he does have a point that despite all that power, he doesn't really have the hearsay to think about that. And I also love is like, okay, I'm not naming your naming villain naming your enemies. Oh, really? We'll just have tea with Huntress and Deathstroke. Point taken. Among other things with this episode, like I said, Barry chases after the guy, gets hit by the Rage Ray. That's what I am calling it. He gets hit by the Rage Ray and feels anger. However, his powers suppress it for a bit, and he starts acting like Peter Parker when he had the Venom symbiote. No, it is. Tell me that does not remind you of when Peter had the Venom symbiote, except not like Spider-Man 3, but more like, hey, he's got all this built-up anger. And I like how everything was like red and stuff. I was kind of thinking to myself, were they trying to do a Red Lanterns reference in here somewhere? I feel like that was what they were trying to do, have a little Red Lanterns reference in this episode in here somewhere. But anyway, among other things, Barry starts freaking out on people, and eventually it gets so bad that he chases down Eddie and Iris, throws Eddie out of a moving car, and proceeds to try to kill him. Whereas, Dr. Wells and the others are like, hey, look, we have got, the Arrow's probably the only one who can stop Barry right now. And, yeah. We get pretty much the coolest thing in this episode. The Flash and Arrow fight was awesome. We gotta wait another 2 years for the Superman Batman fight. Before there's Superman v Batman on the big screen, we got to see the Flash and Green Arrow fight on the little screen. So I was like, Flash v Arrow, dawn of, I don't know, TV justice, I don't know. But yeah, like I said, I like how they play to their strengths, and I also liked how Cisco and Caitlin were arguing with Diggle of who would win this fight, and Felicity's like, you're not really doing this because someone could honestly get killed here. So I thought that, but yeah, the fight was really epic. Here's where it kind of went down for me. Now, earlier in the episode, they talked about the emotional spectrum and how light, certain rays lights affect your mind. Red, obviously, being anger. So Joe and Dr. Wells flash all these colorful lights, and Barry suddenly feels better. I was kind of thinking, couldn't we have done something a little different? I don't know. The multiple lights just seem kind of stupid to me. I mean, it doesn't even make sense when you think about it. It doesn't really just make sense. Oh, all you had to do was shine lights in Barry's eyes. If you knew he got hit by that ray, you should have been like, as a precaution, we should just hit you with the lights anyway, and you'll be fine. Even as a precaution, because he said, yeah, I got hit, but I feel fine, and Dr. Wells should have been like, as an extra precaution, we should hit you with the little light thingy. Yeah. All I could think was the Trans-Siberian Orchestra music playing as the lights were going off. So Barry feels fine. Eddie finally gets the okay by the task force. Iris no longer believes in the Flash. Tells her to no longer, tells him no longer to be part of her life. And Oliver says, "Hey, love's gonna suck. Deal with it." And we get this final scene where I guess we're introduced to Heatwave, but I'm kind of like, I'm sure there's another fire type villain in the DC universe somewhere. But I thought Heatwave was going to have no powers. That's what I thought. I thought Heatwave wasn't going to have any powers. I thought he had that gun. Maybe it's another fire-type villain, or maybe they'll do the gun just channels it through it. I don't know. Anyway, like I said, predictable episode. But the fight, the interaction between Oliver and Barry was pretty awesome. The fight between them was pretty epic, and I cannot wait to see tomorrow night. The second part of the team up where they go after Captain Boomerang, which I'm hoping at the end of the episode, because they've teased episode 10 is going to be the Rogue is going to have something to do with the Rogues in episode 10 apparently. So I'm really hoping, like, the end of this episode, you see Captain Cold and Heatwave together and talking to Captain Boomerang and just be like, hey, heard you got beat down by the Flash. You could use some friends. Oh, I would really love that. Anyway, so you guys tell me, what did you guys think of this episode? Did you guys like it? Did you guys hate it? Just comment below, let me know, and I will see you guys later.